Alright everyone, it's Friday and the final Celtic AM of the week. Just want to take a wee moment since it is Friday and I'm in a pretty good mood for a change. Just to thank you for the support that you've all shown the channel. You're really watching the videos, engaging with the videos, and it is really appreciated. These first few months, and it is only 2 months since I started Celtic AM, we're always just going to be about building the channel and building the fan base. I do have some really big plans, I think, for next season. The channel is going to hopefully be quite different. We're going to look at doing some different things, but all of that will be communicated after Celtic seal 3 in a row. So there's plenty coming, let's just say, and it will be different, I think, to what we're getting at the moment, which is mainly just me on videos and occasionally Stevie, which is why I appreciate all the support. More variation will be coming next season, more people, etc. So yeah, thanks for that. I am really trying to get to 5,000 subscribers, ideally by kickoff on Saturday. This is a wee graph just showing how close we are to 5,000 subscribers. So yeah, really not far away. I know some of you watching won't be sub yet. It doesn't cost you at all. There's really no downside to it, and it helps me to grow the channel and find more Celtic fans like you. So if you're able to do that, genuinely would be very appreciated. Right, on with the important stuff. Right, today's video is going to mainly be chat about the visit of St Mirren to Celtic Park tomorrow. Got a few interesting bits of team news, perhaps even before we've heard Brendan Rodgers' press conference today. However, there is another story that I want to just spend a little bit of time talking about, and there's a fair chance you will have come across this over the past 12 hours or so and read about how it's a damaging blow for Scottish football and the beginning of the end for Celtic in Europe and all of that kind of stuff. So what am I talking about? Well, it's relating to European coefficients and Scotland's position more specifically. Now, the top line here is that next season's Premiership winners will not have automatic entry into the Champions League proper. This is after Victoria Pilsen, I think that's how you pronounce it, drew 0-0 with Fiorentina last night in Europe, taking Czechia ahead of Scotland in the coefficient rankings. And with all of Scotland's teams already out of Europe this season, there's not a great deal we can do about that. So that means that Scotland will finish the season in 11th. Now, only the top 10 nations in the UEFA coefficient sees their champions qualify automatically for the Champions League phase, which is replacing the Champions League group stage from next season. That means that if we win the league next season, we'd enter the UEFA Champions League in the playoff round of the Champions route, and we'd have a 2-legged tie that we'd have to win to make it to the groups. That would potentially be against the champions from the likes of Switzerland, Norway, Austria, or Denmark. Now, I should just emphasise at this point that this is affecting not next season's Champions League, but the following year. Next season is still sorted. If we win the league in the coming weeks, we will still qualify for the new Champions League proper. So next season not affected. This is the year after. Another thing to note for next season, and this is where we get a little bit complicated, so feel free to zone out if this isn't your thing. I'll try and make it as simple as possible. Now, basically, previously, if the Champions League winner had already qualified for the group stage through their league position, think Man City last season qualified through the Premier League and by winning the Champions League, basically qualified twice. That extra place would go to like the next nations champion. So in previous cycles, Scotland may have got a reprieve if the Champions League winner had already qualified through their league position. I think that's even maybe how we got in a couple years ago. I can't remember for sure, but I just remember cheering on someone in Europe to win, and that gave us a chance. Basically, the upshot here is UEFA have done away with that. The extra place from in the new cycle basically goes to the team in the Champions route with the highest coefficient, regardless of the country they're from. And that's unlikely to be us, given that our coefficient position is a bit embarrassing at the moment. We're currently 59th in Europe and likely to fall a bit next season as well. I think that brilliant campaign we had when we topped our Europa League group is falling off the far end of the conveyor belt next year. So we're up against it. Similarly, if the Europa League winner is already qualified through their league, the extra place will be dished out on a coefficient basis. So basically, our only route to the Champions League proper season after next is to win the league next season and then also come through a two-legged playoff tie against another champion. So that's where we're at. Having said that, I think it's far from the horror scenario that we're seeing portrayed by some media outlets. And as I say, the beginning of the end, this is horrific news and all of that kind of stuff. As you'll know, if you've been following Scottish football, European football for a fair period of time, these things go in cycles. Scotland has an automatic Champions League, place for a number of years, and then it loses it for a number of years, and then it gets it back for a number of years. This is no surprise. Unless you're like one of the major nations in Europe, you're always going to be kind of going, above and below that line. That's what happens in Denmark. They sometimes have an automatic place, then they don't. Turkey, Austria, Ukraine, Czechia, all of these nations are very similar to Scotland. And in a funny way, when you have an automatic Champions League place and maybe your other clubs go later into, in later rounds in the other competitions, you have like the opportunities to gain coefficient points aren't there as much. And we've seen that in recent years. Points have been hard to come by for Celtic because we've been playing in the Champions League. Rangers found that out, horrendously last season in the Champions League. They found out how difficult it is, becoming the worst performing team in the history of the UEFA Champions League group stage. We may end up playing Europa League football a bit more in the coming years, and that may give us an opportunity to get an automatic Champions League place back in a number of years, and then we'll lose it and get it back, and time will just go on like that. I'm more concerned about Celtic's club coefficient and the fact that as already outlined in this video, is dropping, and we're consistently underachieving in Europe. And I like to slag them off, and I literally did it about 30 seconds ago, but Rangers have definitely shown us how to get results in Europe over the past 5 years. They've outperformed us. I don't think anyone would argue with that, and that's really where I want to see Celtic coming on in the coming years. That's my kind of big concern. Celtic standing rather than Scottish football standing. I think that's always just going to come and go. I think Celtic really need to get their act together and put some, good campaigns together. So yeah, that's where we're at. I don't think it's a horrendous, end of days type thing, but yeah, next season's Premiership winner won't be assured automatic Champions League football. They'll have to go through the qualifiers. If you want to know about UEFA's new format that is kicking in next year and we will be part of, regardless of whether it's in the Champions League or the Europa League, you can check out one of those videos, I don't know what side it's on, that I did earlier this week. And it features a football manager simulation, and who doesn't love that game? Moving on to more pressing and immediate matters and the game at home to St Mirren tomorrow. As I say, Brendan Rodgers will talk to the media later today. There's a fair chance you know what he said by the time you're watching this. I don't. I'll just emphasise that. However, there have been a couple of indications about potential team news for the game. Now, Celtic are holding their annual coaching convention this week. You may remember this thing from this time last year. Basically, it gives budding coaches of all levels an opportunity to, visit Lennoxtown, see what Celtic training is all about, get masterclasses from Brendan Rodgers. I think last year it was like Ange Postecoglou and Fran Alonso. Both of them have obviously departed the club at this stage. But yeah, as part of this course that they pay for, they also get to observe training, and this was the case yesterday. Now, 20-minute Tims were one of those in attendance at Lennoxtown yesterday, and they shared some interesting team insights for their fellow supporters. Now, they tweeted a lot of information in a small tweet, so there's plenty we can read into here. So they wrote, "No Dyson Maeda in training today. Callum McGregor didn't take part in full session. CCV, Rayo and Palma all did full training." So if we take this one by one, no Maeda in training. Is he injured? He certainly didn't seem to be injured last Sunday at Ibrox. Played the full game there as well. He could have missed training yesterday for a number of reasons. Could be fitness related, could not be. If it is fitness related, and that's the reason why he wasn't training, then you would have to say that he'd be a doubt for this weekend. Callum McGregor didn't take part in the full session, so that means that he took part in part of the session. Again, you would have to say that he's some sort of a doubt, certainly to start the match against St Mirren. And finally, the good news that Carter Vickers, Hatate and Lewis Palma all did full training. Palma may well be an option to start the match if Maeda is missing. On that topic, who are we thinking for the team tomorrow? Well, I would have said the same team that started at Ibrox. Let's just say that Dyson Maeda isn't going to make the match. If he does, it's a welcome bonus, but it's kind of funner maybe to look at who could come in for him if he doesn't make it. So this is what we're going with. And yeah, if we just start up front, not totally sure who would play left and right between Yang and Kuhn. Maybe Kuhn's more natural on the left, but I do like him cutting in from the right. Palma's obviously an option, as I say, to come in the left, but I just think after some time out, maybe he'd be on the bench. And that's kind of a front three people have wanted to see. I know Yang's come in for a bit of criticism after Ibrox, but I think a game like tomorrow's a bit different for him. He can go and express himself maybe rather than having to manage the game, which probably isn't his strength at the moment. Neither's defending, clearly, from that Rangers third goal last weekend. So yeah, happy with that. Midfield, same as Ibrox. I think Iwata will probably start. Could be surprised by McGregor, but I'm guessing McGregor probably on the bench if he's not training for full sessions at this stage. I know people probably look at Bernardo and Ida being worthy of starts after their recent contributions. I'm happy with them coming on as real impact subs at the moment. I think we've only really got a game a week for the rest of the season, apart from one midweek match day near the end. And I just think it's not a bad thing to have subs bursting to get on and maybe only getting half an hour on the pitch, if that, each week, and just really feeling they have to make the most of that. And I think, to be fair, Ida's certainly done that. Bernardo certainly did it the weekend. So those would be two important subs. You could add Palma in as a sub as well, potentially McGregor. See, suddenly the squad is starting to look stronger and we've got options to come on and change the game. At the back, kind of picks itself. I know people have reservations over Scales. I don't think that's something that's going to change between now and the end of the season. I think it's pretty set and will continue to be that way until the end of the campaign, barring injuries. So that's what we've got. League table-wise, St Mirren are currently 5th. They've already assured a top 6 finish, so this won't be the last time that we play them this season. They are vying for 4th spot with Kilmarnock, as you can see, but I just sense there may be a little bit of a let-up given that they only secured a top 6 spot for the second successive season last weekend. That may have been their big target in recent weeks. I know there's European stuff still there, but I just sense there might be a bit of a let-up from them, and if there is at all at Celtic Park and we are right at it, we should win pretty comfortably. Emphasis on the word should there. Final point I would make is that I hope the stadium's packed. I really think we're at this stage of the season now where every single match is like its own big event. Like, it feels like a big game tomorrow because there's so much on the line, and you know that really any slip up at this stage, could be fatal for us, regardless of us getting a positive result last weekend. There's still no breathing room, and I outlined yesterday with Stevie why I think that's good for this team, that the pressure's really on, because I think we thrive under the pressure. But the point I'm making is I just hope that the stadium's packed. It's Saturday 3 p.m. kick-off tomorrow. We're not even sure if we'll get another one of them at Celtic Park this season. Real opportunity to go along, support the team, make an atmosphere. I know there's reasons why people can't make games, and I'm not going to judge anyone for that. But, if you can't make it, give your ticket to someone else. Like, I would be disappointed tomorrow for such a big game, near the end of the season in April with the weather getting better. I know Stevie moaned yesterday, but, I'd be disappointed if the stadium wasn't full and if there were like loads of empty seats on show, which can be the case with Celtic matches. I know the club need to bring in some sort of, seat swapping system when people can't make matches, but I just think tomorrow, let's get it packed, let's really support the team, and let's all feel good about ourselves and feel good about this title race. We can go 4 points clear tomorrow. I know they'll have a couple of games in hand, but you want the points on the board, put the pressure on them, and if we could get a big victory as well and help the goal difference, that could be pretty important as well. So yeah, that's where we're at. Have a great weekend. Remember to subscribe, get us to 5,000 before kick-off, and we'll probably score 5 goals if that happened. That's just what I get told. And yeah, I'll speak to you on Monday.